Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the Sal Pitera channel, and we're still on the wonderful Carnival Glory. We're out here probably just south of the Gulf of Mexico. I'm here with the master of the ship, and he'll be able to give you our location here in just a minute. But as I just mentioned, I'm here with the captain, and he's going to talk about his life and what it's like to work here on board a cruise ship. So we'll be back with the captain right after this. All right, welcome back, everybody. As I mentioned, we're on board a Carnival cruise ship, and we are here with the captain. Now, I asked him this off camera, and he started to laugh at me, so we're going to try and figure this out together. Captain, first, how do I pronounce your name?
Why don't you try?
Well, I didn't bring my glasses, so I think it's Piro...
You want to try mine?
Holy cow, Captain. Your eyes are worse than mine. Okay, let's see. Peebo.
Pero?
Pero, okay.
Yes, that's Peter in English. Oh, and this is a tongue breaker now.
Yeah, I give up.
Grubjesic.
Grubjesic. And what nationality is that?
Croatian.
Croatian. And that's unusual. Most captains on board Carnival are Italian, no?
Yes. Yes, I must say that I'm extremely proud that I was the first Croatian captain on the Carnival cruise line, and it made me even more happy a couple of months ago when my dear colleague, my dear friend, was promoted. Josip Mladina, he is on the ecstasy now. So I'm not the only one anymore.
So he was just promoted to captain?
Yeah, he was just promoted a couple of months ago, so that made me very, very happy.
So that's the second Croatian captain aboard Carnival. Very good. Maybe we're starting a trend here.
Maybe, hopefully.
So you grew up in Croatia?
I grew up in Croatia, beautiful city of Dubrovnik, you see it here. And lately it's more known as King's Landing, thanks to the Game of Thrones.
You know, I was just watching that on YouTube last night, and they were saying how beautiful the city is, but they're actually getting an overpopulation with tourists right now because of the movie.
True.
And it's hurting the city.
Not only for the movies, not only for the Game of Thrones. Okay, Star Wars were filmed there, I don't know what else. But really during the summer it's becoming a bit crazy.
That seems to be like most beautiful cities, though. Everybody wants to go somewhere where it's beautiful.
True. So
that's
true.
It seems like it's a good and a bad,
right? If anybody
right?
wants to come to Dubrovnik, come out of the season. It's going to be better for you, better for us.
So you grew up there?
Yes.
Now, I've talked to other captains in Italy, and a lot of the captains come from towns where being in the nautical business is just part of the way of life and the way of growing up. Is that how it is where you're from?
It is. It is. If you take a look in the back, that's the historic flag of Dubrovnik of Republic that basically survived thanks to Siemens, commerce, manufacturing, tiny republic in the Mediterranean, and it has a huge seamanship history, let's say.
Now, how early did you know that this is the business you wanted to be in?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. Really not sure. Started as a 5-6-year-old boy driving my uncle's 18-footer with a horsepower, four horsepower engine, outboard engine. So it was always a fight between me and my cousins who's going to do it.
Did you do anything else growing up besides
everything
as a seaman?
Everything else.
Like what?
Like carrying furniture, like I don't know, painting other people's houses, whatever, working in the bars, helping in the bars, everything that would get me money.
Other than working in this business, what would you say was your favorite job, and do you miss any of the jobs you've had prior to this?
No, not really. Not really. I went through the school, through the university, let's say, in Dubrovnik, Maritime University, and I started somewhere in '92, then finished in '98, but in the meantime I took a year off for army service, a year off for apprenticeship on a cargo ship. I worked there 12 months as a cadet. And then when I finished, during that period, I worked all those kinds of jobs. And when I finished university, I started working for money. First with a local company from Dubrovnik, then a company from Monte Carlo, always cargo ships, bulk carriers, and in 2000 I joined Carnival.
In 2000, so you've been here
It's going to be
19 years.
19, it's going
Forgot
to be
what year it was.
19 years in September.
Now, when you make that transition, you started with Carnival. Did you start as a captain or in an officer position?
No,
How do you go about getting your job?
I started as a third officer. I started as a third officer, and I was for 2 years, 4 contract as a third officer, then second officer. I mean, you go through the ranks. It's a bit different than the cargo ships because there are more positions here. But I can't say that I had a slow or fast career. It was just a normal career path any of the officers go through with the Carnival.
Would you say it was harder because you were from Croatia?
No, not at all.
And not the typical Italian
Not
officer?
at all.
No?
Not at all. I had fantastic captains I've worked with fantastic captains. Some of them I regard as a father figure to me. They're retired now, unfortunately, one of them. The other one that is still with us, I look at him as an uncle, but you know that uncle that wants the best for you.
Sure.
So I really can't say that I was discriminated in any way or anything.
So none of the other captains are worried about like promoting you because there's only so many vessels and you might be taking their job away from them. So let me ask you a question, because a lot of my viewers are interested in working on a cruise ship, and I don't think a lot of them know the difference between the regular personnel and the officer personnel. So let's talk about that for a second. If you start out, like you hear in like big companies in the United States, people start out like handling luggage, and next thing you know, 20 years later, they're the president of the airline.
Yes.
Can that happen on board a cruise ship?
course.
Can somebody that's working
Of
like
course.
in the baggage room work
Of
their way up and
course.
become an officer?
Of course.
How hard is that to do?
First of all, you need to be good. But I believe that there are people here on board that are going to recognize that, recognize your hard work, your intelligence, and then there are also smart people in the office that are going to recognize that. So it is very possible. I know that it was happening.
Do you have the ability to promote somebody if you decide to? Or do you have to go through the corporate
No,
office?
it has to go through the office, of course.
But they take your recommendation,
Of
I would
course,
imagine.
Of course.
Very
Yeah.
cool.
I'm going to recommend someone for promotion. Okay, that's going to be in the deck department. I mean, it wouldn't be fair for me to judge someone I don't supervise that closely, for example, in the hotel or the engine. So everything goes through the heads of department, let's say.
Let's talk about that supervision, because obviously you're in charge of everything that happens on board this vessel. Do you ever just take a walk through the hallways, you know, with the white glove and just make sure that things are appropriate?
I did that this morning.
And if you see something that you don't like, what do? Do you go to that person who works there, or do you go to their supervisor and let it flow downhill?
I try to inquire why are they doing it, what's going on, if they were told to do it that way or not.
I got to be honest, you're the first captain I spoke to that does that. Most captains tell me that they don't walk and look for like little details. They let their
Really?
departments do that and report back to them.
No.
And that's actually really refreshing.
I woke up this morning around 6:30, shaved of course every day, standard routine, and I went outside for a walk and made my way down through the galleys to the deck zero, boat decks.
So you do the whole ship. You take a good walk around the ship.
I need to do that for my health.
I can appreciate that. It's not like you can go to a walk in the park here, right?
Yeah.
So as you're walking around the ship, you obviously live on the ship 6 months and then 6 months off.
It's 6 months on, yes, 3 months on, 3 months off.
And do you have a family here on board?
They're coming on Sunday.
And how long do they stay with you?
They're going to stay for 2 weeks here, then they will go to California to visit their grandmother, and they will be back for another 2 weeks.
Very cool. Nice to grow up on a cruise ship, right?
They love
My
it.
kids, my son
They
is here
love
working
it.
the cameras, and he basically grew up on a Carnival cruise
They love
ship.
it.
So, so if your family comes and goes, what's it like dealing when you're not with your family on board the cruise ship? Is it hard?
It is. It is. The good thing that when I leave, I usually leave early in the morning, home. So they are still sleeping. Girls, I have 2 girls.
So you can say goodbye the night before?
7 and 5.5. Because if any of them wakes up and says, "Daddy, please stay," I just leave
Break your heart.
luggage and probably stay. I don't know.
I can see that in your eyes when you talk about. I'm sure you guys can see it too. When you talk about your family, your eyes just kind of light up.
But it's much more different than the cargo ships. Let's say, cargo ships are for me a voluntary prison. Just imagine crossing the Pacific can take 30 days, then another 15 days at the anchorage. You are with 22 to 25 same persons on board. So at certain time, just want to.
And much smaller group of people. At least here you can interact with people. And
you can interact with people here. This is a little city here.
So let me ask you, let's talk about that for a minute. 2 questions. First, one of the things we've noticed on this particular sailing, now I know officers can bring their families on board, but on this particular sailing, we've noticed a lot of crew members have their children on board.
Yes.
Is there something specific with this specific sailing, or is it just that there just happens to be a lot of
It's the
families
time
on
of
board?
the year. It's the time of the year. For example, my girl started school now, so they can come here during the summer vacation and during the Christmas time. And Max Roya, the other captain, I shared this ship with him. He's a fantastic guy, so he agreed to schedule our work and vacation periods the way it suits me. So, as I want to bring them on board to be more time with them, I'm going to work during the summer and during the Christmas and New Year's holidays, so they can come.
And they spend the holidays on board with you.
Yes.
That's
yes.
nice.
They love it.
So let's talk about the other side of that. You were talking about the interaction as far as being on a cargo ship as opposed to here. Obviously, there's a lot more people on board this ship than you would find on a cargo ship. As far as interaction with the public, now you got to be honest with me with this, because I've had a lot of captains tell me one answer and then off camera tell me a different answer. Is that the most... If Carnival could do away with like formal night where you have to stand in the lobby and shake everybody's hand, do you like that, or would you prefer that would you rather be up here with your staff? And
one of the captains on Carnival many years ago, I was still a 3rd officer, said, when you're on the cargo ships, you need to take care of the cargo, and our cargo here are the guests, so we need to take care of them. And I'm aware that one of their expectations is to meet the captain. Okay, now, whether they're going to meet me or not, I'm not sure. There are 3,700 people on board, only guests, plus 1,100 crew members. So that's maybe the opportunity to come and to chat with me. I don't really mind that.
it's not like the old Love Boat days where there's 300 people on board where you stand and say hello to everybody as they come through the door.
Yeah, they were always on the ship, I believe. They never left the ship.
So let's dive a little deeper into that. I know, and I always impress upon my guests how safe cruising really is. But for first-time cruisers, it's always a challenge to get them to understand that this is really a floating city.
Yes.
And the technology today makes cruise ships, I mean, probably the safest form of travel. But specifically in the United States, I really don't know what it's like in other countries, but you know, we have the 24/7 news cycles now that, I mean, God forbid somebody gets a blister in their sandal on board a cruise ship, they're showing it on Fox News
It's
tomorrow as a
everywhere,
major
yes.
catastrophe.
Yes, especially this time of year. How do they call it? There's an expression in English. I don't know. When
Captain's looking at the
when
hotel director asking for input because I don't know what the expression is.
No, when there are no news.
Dry cycle?
I don't know.
Dry period?
Whatever.
But yeah, they're always looking to fill the news, and you know, and we're guilty of it too. My channel, while I am very pro Carnival because I love Carnival, certainly I wouldn't be doing my job if there are things like the problems the Vista is having right now if I didn't report that to my viewers and what's going on. But yeah, if you could tell my viewers, you know, in your opinion, what makes traveling on the ocean safe today as opposed to, the news things that they hear on the news?
As you said, this is the safest way of travel. My absolute number one priority is safety of my guests, my crew, and then of course environmental issues. But what you said, if someone has a blister, that's not really what we care about. I mean, it's terrible that it happened, but I don't know how to put it. We need to know our limits. So I know that sometimes there are going to be a lot of disappointment on board if a port is missed or something. But if a port is missed, there is a reason behind that. And number one reason is safety, of course, because if you take a look at this ship, this is a huge sail. So it very much depends on the wind whether we can enter the port or not. I don't know, sometimes people are going to see the ship already in port and we are skipping it, we can't enter. Doesn't mean that that captain is better or not. Maybe they had less wind before they entered, or they have more power than you do.
I could imagine there's lots of factors. Size of the ship.
Size of the ship, of course. I mean, we are not going to go if we can't fit into the port. Doesn't make sense.
No, I mean like
Company
wind as opposed to wind resistance
course,
on the ship.
of course.
And we hear that a lot. I get lots of people who, and every cruise line gets it. It's not just Carnival. Who this is. I tell people. As a matter of fact, I just made a video on this a couple of days ago. I tell people that the only thing that can really hurt their cruise is them. Whether you're on a cruise ship or you go to Disney World. I mean, if you go to Disney World, you're going to be in Orlando for a week, and you're going to interact with people that work at the park. You're going to interact with people that work at a restaurant.
Yes.
You're going to interact with people that work retail, and you're bound to find somebody that you're dealing with that you just don't get along with. But you can't just let that ruin your whole vacation. When you're on a cruise ship, you're literally dealing with all of those departments in one vessel. So if you can go to guest services and one person rubs you the wrong way, if you let that ruin your whole cruise, that's kind of on you.
That doesn't make sense for me very much, but I can assure all our guests that we are going to do whatever we can to solve the problem, if not immediately, then as soon as we can. And when I say as soon as we can, it's not the end of the cruise or tomorrow, even today. I mean, the girls and guys at the guest services desk, they're doing a fantastic job.
Phenomenal.
They're doing a fantastic. That's one of the jobs I wouldn't really be able to do.
I'd last 5 minutes. Corner would be sending me packing.
I'd snap at someone sooner or later, so that wouldn't be really for me.
So let me ask you this: does Carnival, and I kind of already know the answer to this, does Carnival has a way of tracking like chronic complainers who just like to complain for the sake of trying to get a refund or an onboard credit?
They do, but not only that, we are also tracking the complaints related to a certain stateroom. So we have a history of all the complaints in the stateroom, and you can see the trend over there.
Ah, so you can actually see, like, if a stateroom's got a problem, you see like multiple people have complained about it.
Yeah. Why did they complain? So, I mean, you work on the solution. Maybe you know that the problem is going to occur during the cruise, and you are prepared for that. I mean, mostly it's about the compensation, but I wouldn't say it's all about compensation. A lot of our guests are going to not to accept money, but I don't know, I believe they'd rather take a cruise or not a cruise, sorry, an excursion experience at the steakhouse or whatever else.
Do you find that there are people who are just trying to get something for free? I mean, they come on board and you find that they're complaining just to complain?
I wouldn't say that.
No?
I wouldn't say that they just come to complain. Because if they complain, they probably have a reason to complain. And as I said, we are going to do everything we can to solve it.
I've never understood the compensation for a complaint. I know people that watch my videos, and I'll call you out on it if you post that I'm wrong on this underneath. So you need to understand, if you're going to post that I'm wrong, when I say this, I'm going to call you out by name in one of my videos. But I know people that come on board and just think that if anything goes wrong, Carnival should pay them. Like for instance, let's take the Vista. The Vista, for those of you who don't know, the Vista had some propulsion issues and had to extend one cruise, and then it unfortunately is going to dry dock and it's canceling 3 sailings.
Yes.
And Carnival is gracious enough to not only refund their cruise, but everybody who was on board is getting a $200 credit for their airline reservations, which I totally understand. But kind of Carnival is also being gracious enough to give them a future free cruise. I personally don't understand that. I mean, to me, when you get on a cruise ship, it's like you're getting into a car. These are machines, and they're going to break down eventually and need maintenance.
This is a floating city. This is a floating city. Vista is even bigger than we are. So more guests, more crew, more systems to keep everything running. I mean, and this is the ship.
It's a wonderful ship.
Yeah, it goes from point A to point B, and to get there, you need propellers.
Exactly.
Unfortunately, what happened with Vista? Vista has a different type of propulsion than we do. They have pods. We have classic propulsion, let's say. So
they have the Azipod system.
yes. If you lose one, you can't go full speed, and they are in Galveston, right? And it takes some time to get from Galveston wherever, especially here to Mexico. As I understood, they are doing a cruise to Cozumel and Costa Maya, right?
Yeah, and they've extended it one day for the
Because
propulsion.
you need time to get there.
I just don't understand why Carnival needs to give them a future free cruise just to make people happy. I just don't think Carnival needs to do that. I don't think everybody wants compensation when things go wrong. I don't understand that.
It's nice of us to do it.
It's very nice. It's very, very gracious.
It's nice of us, and hopefully they will come here. I don't know. They
That's
can
true.
come to Vista. They can come here and
Come on their ship.
see what the hospitality is. I believe that, I'm sure that Vista is also doing a great job over there. Unfortunately, they have a technical problem that can't be resolved in a day.
I get it. And I have to say, and I'm not just trying to blow smoke at you, the hospitality on the ship has been absolutely wonderful.
Thank you.
So I'm going to let you out with just a couple of questions. One that I ask everybody every time I interview them: best and worst part of your job.
Answer is the same. Meeting people. As you said, you meet you meet wonderful people, but then you meet not so nice, not so wonderful people. One of the aspects of my job that I like a lot is working with guys on the bridge, to share this little knowledge I have with them, to help them grow, and hopefully to be in my position one day. So that's probably the best part of the job.
Okay. And why is it the worst part?
No, not that one. Meeting people is the...
Because it can be too much sometimes.
Said, yes, it can be too much sometimes.
I got you. All right.
I mean, you have to deal with different personalities here, and being a captain is not only maneuvering the ship. It's more dealing with people, dealing with personalities, and I was happy to be here with some fantastic people. Really, I can't say enough about my chief engineer, Cosimo Del Vento, fantastic chief engineer. Brittany is here covering for Stephen Chesney, hotel director. I work closely with the staff captain, who is the head of deck department, my right hand, sorry. My right hand, Giancarlo Di Lorenzo, and big part of my job is human resources, which is covered by Paul. So that's, let's say, the core team, and you deal with them the most. And of course, you have the other department has their food and beverage, electrical, electronic, engineering, housekeeping is a huge operation here. So you need to mediate between all the personalities on there.
That makes total sense. Thank you, Captain.
Very welcome.
And I appreciate all the hospitality you've given us and invited my audience into your office here.
And this is
aboard the
probably
Glory.
going to go in history as the most hairless interview ever done.
Mr. Clean, I get that every port I go to. Mr. Clean, come in here. People start calling me Mr. Clean, we're going to have a problem. Thank you very much.
Sal.
I appreciate
It's
it.
a pleasure having you here.